As I said, today is World Radio Day. What does World Radio Day mean? It means very many things. We have with us in the studio David Omwoyo, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Media Council of Kenya, to come and talk to us about World Radio Day and safeguarding radio in the country. David, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Good to have you here.
I'm happy to.
Sasa, we start the conversation on radio with the day's quote.
Yep.
And our radio girl, Jano, has the quote. And then let's see what you think about the quote, and then we'll get into the conversation.
Radio girly at heart. Steve Allen, who was an American broadcaster and comedian, once said, radio is the theater of the mind. You agree?
Yes. Really, because I think radio, because you don't see radio, you hear it. So then it triggers the mind to imagine, to visualize and all that. So I think radio is really the theater of the mind.
Yeah. Then we started pushing to see radio. Now, in fact, what became a huge, I guess, evolution was it's like, but we want to see. And I'll never forget that transition. And I was asked to be one of the people to sort of like do a training with radio hosts who are transitioning, and they were all mad. They were like, I have enjoyed my anonymity.
Yes.
I have enjoyed being able to focus on my craft and not necessarily aesthetics. And that was, I don't know, like a decade or so ago. So yeah.
I can see why they would feel like that, honestly.
So upset, yeah.
I think because growing up, every time you would see, for example, your favorite radio presenter for the first time, they're being interviewed somewhere, they were in the newspaper for some reason, or on a billboard, you're always like, what? You're 5'2", you sound 6'11".
Oh, you're a human.
You know.
You're not just a voice. But yeah.
No, inasaidia watu kama Latif to shave, otherwise because people will see them, then you need to pass by the barber
Totally
shop.
unkempt. Yes. And you'd be operating just like that. But radio is big, David.
Yes.
Let's just paint the picture of radio in Kenya. How many radio stations do we have in Kenya? In what languages are they broadcasting? And what's the consumption of radio in Kenya?
Well, I know that facts are supposed to be static or rather data, but unfortunately it's a moving target. Ideally, we have about 250 radios.
250 radios in
250 radios in Kenya. Of course, we have basics others in English and Swahili, but Kenya radio is primarily a vernacular media. So that apart from the basic Swahili stations we have, then now we have people grouped. We have radios in different vernacular languages because radio tends to be very personal. And then we have, of course, the English targeting the middle class, the working class in Nairobi and all that. And so if you look at it, especially from us, from a monitoring perspective, we have a radio in Kiburuji. We suddenly had the second courier radio station launched the other day. We have, I think, a fourth Maasai radio. And now we have Isiolo, there is another radio. So we have radios really personal, and people prefer to talk in their local language. So we have a mosaic of radio in this country, where those of us here, we do Swahili and English because we do the national channels and international channels, but down to the villages, people have extremely personal chat, because then the radios announce about the chief's baraza, the day the water will be there, a little vaccination, the day for the cattle dips and all that, the clinic day, the school and all that. So radios really, we have this big national perspective. Go to the village to say hi to grandmama or mom and find that they have their own radio stations discussing practical issues, and people say, "Ulisikia kwa radio walisema nini chief ni kesho na ulisikia." And it's very personal and lovely, actually. Yes.
It is very personal and lovely. And I like that you've given us context, because I think we sometimes forget what radio looks like for a majority of the country. And you think it's this place where they play music and then they give you the news and that's it. But you've gone into the news in a granular sense. It's vaccination, chief, so-and-so amepoteza mbuzi, iko wapi, and so on and so forth. When you think about the evolution of radio over the years, and this idea that people say radio is dying, true, false, in your opinion?
Absolutely false. This perspective of dying, it is like when the 4 life cycles of a butterfly. So if something transitions from a caterpillar to the pupa stage, it hasn't died. It is transitioning. So we had radio now. The fact that we have radio and TV and we're doing online streaming now doesn't mean radio has died. So radio has grown some wings and gotten a little colorful, and you can now do radio via podcasts and all that. So radio had what has died. Remember the traditional radio receiver yenye ilikuwa inawekwa kwa stool hapo nyumbani. There was a special stool at home where we put the radio
like on a kitambaa.
Yes.
And you touch it.
I can see the woven white kitambaa over it.
And you touch it, know that you'll have a run-in with dad when he comes. Nani aliguza hii? They would know that. That is what has died, really.
Yeah.
That was it, Sanyo or Sony or something, or Philip something there.
Yeah.
And being sent to the market to go and buy the dry cells.
Yes.
To go and buy the dry cells, mjimweka kwa radio, na zikiisha mnaanika kwa jua kidogo. That is what has died, really, the traditional sense. But the radio, in the sense that I can listen to you in the car on my way here, on my phone, people are watching us at home and all that, that has not died. So if you visualize it that way, you need to understand what aspect of radio has died. It is radio, the gadget.
Right.
Under the stool to go na clear radio na kitambaa vile umesema hii kuna funika radio namna hii. But the radio that people need information and as we go to work, as people go to farm, as people
go about their day, hasn't died.
That doesn't.
But I like that you've said it hasn't died. But what do we need to do to ensure it doesn't die? Because yes, there's been that evolution that we're talking about in terms of vernacular, in terms of all of that. But is there still something that could threaten radio altogether?
Well, everything is under threat from something, some way, anytime. Even if you go very deep inside Gikumba, for example, or Marikiti, there is always a new stall or somebody selling something and all that. But there is a traditional there's a traditional shop that is known for certain qualities and all that. And this is something that is known across every marketplace and every shopping center around that. You may have 10 things coming up, but there's a specific place where people know that huyu ndiye anauza quality and all that. So now we are in a market of information. Everybody is trying to talk. When sometimes we have more people talking than the listeners or the viewers and all that. But people will eventually go to quality information. People will go to where they get verified information. People go where they can get facts and all that. But otherwise, it's just a mad marketplace. Everybody's trying to do their podcast on the corner. Everybody's trying to shout. Everybody's trying to do everything. So what will separate professionally done radio from every other person, wannabes and all that, is that people know that we're going to get quality, facts, and entertainment, which is done well. Yes, that is what will separate radio. Otherwise, you can't say that we're going to buy some tapes and tape everybody from, or stop selling mics so that people stop talking. Just set yourself aside from the crowd.
So let's define radio, really. And I know it's an open-ended and it can never end as a debate.
Yes.
Is radio the receiver gadget? Is radio the mode of transmission that you're transmitting signals through the airwaves and then there has to be a receiver somewhere? Is radio the creation of the content, being in a studio and talking to a microphone? Or is radio sound?
All of the above, really, in the broadest sense. But I think in our context, because we are looking at a content perspective, radio is sound, because when you sit down and deliver content via the spoken word, then now the mode of receiving is as it can be. The mobile phone came, it has FM radios, then we have the receivers, then we have the stereos in the car, then now you see even now this receivers on TV. The TV has TV channels and radio channels and all that. So I think the delivery of sound, quality information and entertainment is what makes radio. Otherwise, radio is a set. You go to the shop, nataka kununua radio, and all that. You want nataka simu iko na radio ndani, and all that. But I think what really separates radio, the common denominator, is that
it's the sound.
Yeah, the content.
Okay.
Across the.
So if we then take that, then we can say that this gadget is not necessarily the radio. This gadget may die, and you've said we are seeing by and by it's dying.
Yes.
That means also that sending the signal to these gadgets may also die. In terms of you have a transmitter somewhere that is sending a signal. If the gadget is no longer being used, then the sending the signal to it may die. And then we're also seeing that there are very many people who are listening to us right now, but they're listening to us via our X. They're listening to us on Facebook. They're listening to us on YouTube. They're listening to us on TV. They're listening to us, right? Without necessarily having to sit down and actively watch. But they're listening to us. They're playing, they're hearing us. TV ko pale, yeye ako pande ile ingine. So this is the new radio. This is the argument I'm just trying to introduce, that this is the new radio. It's still there, but that is the new radio. So we may not continue seeing the radio of the old, of you sit in a studio somewhere and then you broadcast and it has to be soundproofed. You can be somewhere where you are sending your voice onto a platform. And as people can get that voice on the other end of that platform, then it's still radio.
Ideally, in very broad sense, I know you've made your question very complicated, but in very broad sense, yes. Because the whole idea is someone will have a gadget to receive your message or to decipher the message you're sending. So you are in your car, you want to receive the message, the announcement. You have your phone, you want to receive that. You have your television, you have your laptop in the office or computer and all that. And very soon, I think we're going to get these headsets that can have a connection on their own, and that works. So the whole idea is that in very broad sense, in summary, we say that wauzaji wa transmitter na wale wanajenga chuma wanaweza umia kidogo, but still the message, whether we'll have a messenger and then the message is delivered to a consumer somewhere, that will remain. Yes.
Making it cheaper.
Yes, cheaper. More
in some ways, in terms of cheaper in one setting up a radio station.
Yes.
In terms of previously, you had to come up with this whole studio, you fabricate it, you have
buy a frequency.
Get a frequency, get a transmitter, and then hope that people buy the radio sets so that they can then tune into you. But now, you don't need to have that entire investment. You just need to be Jano sitting somewhere, and you produce your content, and then you upload it yourself.
And
it
that's
has
radio.
cut down very many costs that you could have been there. So you can now become a broadcaster.
Thanks for planting the seed.
Yes.
But
you are.
This is true. I wanted to actually ask a little bit about that, the licensing, the signals, and just walking us through, I mean, you say there's 250 radio stations, many come. Talk to us about some of the challenges or some of the ways in which people are setting up. You'd hear that some stations have been shut down because they either didn't acquire something. What is the legal way that to set up a radio station? Is it under threat? What are the ways that people are finding areas and gaps and shortcuts? Because you'd hear occasionally, this has been shut down, or this license was revoked, or this wasn't given. Talk to us a little bit about that legality around radio.
Sounds a little technical. I would have let that to be done by my colleagues at the Communication Authority, but I know because I've been in radio for a while. I set up a few radio stations a few years ago. You know that we have the FM frequency now. Remember, we had the midwave, shortwave, and FM, but we largely do FM because it's cheaper and more agile. I think it runs from 87.5 to 108.5. So the frequencies must fit within that range. And that means that, for example, Nairobi frequencies imejaa. That means between 87.5 to 108.5, we have licensed. We have enough broadcasters over there.
Everything from 87.5.
Yes.
So then there's 88.
88.3, 88.7.
Evo.
I think there's usually a 0.3 something there. Then they have broadcast sites because you're given this limit for transmitter site, effective radiated power and all that, so that we know ikitoka hapa, you do from Limuru, Itaisha, Karibu Kinungi. So we have to do a new broadcasting site in Nyambene, for example, or Menengai Hill, Nakuru, to do that hill and all that. Then you go to Kisumu, Kiboswa Hill and all that, because that does not, there is the level of which, the radius of which that transmitter does. So the whole idea of doing that is because it's like you can't allow everyone to start broadcasting, because if you've been given 80 or 96.3, for example, you can't get someone at 96.4. Utakuwa interference kidogo, isn't it? The next person should be at 96.7 or something like that. So that's how it comes. So the purpose of getting the guys, sometimes switched off, is someone comes in and throws enough. Because when you buy a transmitter, it has all the 87.5 to 108, and you tune yourself. You're supposed to tune to the frequency allocated That's why we have the frequency spectrum management. So if that is not done, everybody can come in and put makelele umundani. Number two is the power of the transmitter. If you overpower your transmitter, it can go beyond the region. So if ukifika mahali kuna frequency ya say Nyambene na za Nairobi zinagongana, you get two frequencies at the same time. So really that's all, and that's why you find that the CA sometimes they say huyu haja this is the transmitter is not type approved, because sometimes you get too powerful transmitters that interfere with the others. They talk about band pass filters that make sure that your frequency is within the range you're given. It does not go into the other person's frequency and all that. It's quite technical, and I would say that I only know this because they took me through that when I was trying to set up a radio or two in my previous life, and that's, I think it's part of the regulatory framework. It's a referee in the field to avoid people getting that. And then you have an annual frequency fee. You have to inspect type approval of the equipment you use, checking the studios you have and all that. And if you remember the previous days when we had, you all remember at KBC, there is an entire platoon of the GSUs and all that. Is that you also have to get some security, because people trust radio, or rather really trusted radio when we had very few voices. So if anybody comes onto radio and says anything, that is taken as gospel truth. So security, location, and all. Yes.
I get that.
Of course, that is what we do. Sasa sisi tunaangalia na watu umeweka wafanye messaging ni nani. So CA checks frequency, the text and all. Now we angalia, and who is this guy you've put on the radio? Who is this person talking to Kenyans? Do they know a bit of ethics? Do they understand the moralities and all that? Or you have gotten, because airwaves are public resource. They must be used for public good. Ama umeleta watu wakuje wa aidha wadanganya watu, ama wa insight watu wengine and all that. Yes.
Thank you, because that's exactly what I wanted to get into. As we liberalize media as a whole, radio is part of that. There's exactly what we had, which was there was very few people on the airwaves, and it was very easy to verify who is who, where they work. Are they a member of the media council? Have they received training, etc. Now it's a free for all. What challenge does this pose ethically, and what opportunities, if any?
The principle of Sokohuru, as it's said, of advantages and disadvantages. So Sokohuru allows everyone to get to the market. So you can do hoarding and stuff like that and all that. But unfortunately, is that then we will get everyone in the market, even those who are selling monkeys and pretending that they are goats. That means that we have people who, because of that ability, everybody sets up a little thing in the room and they do, and then you don't need the license to stream on YouTube or X or Facebook and all that. Then we get guys all over. So number one, the opportunity is that the monopoly of the voice has disappeared. Everyone who has a voice can speak to their audience wherever they are. Number two is that then we have now everybody, including the madman, has a chance to speak to anybody. And now with that much noise, then the perceiver, I say perceiver, not receiver, but there can be interchange for this conversation, does not know that we have not taught the perceiver to differentiate the madman, or woman in this case, and the sober person who is giving real information. So there's now the confusion of the receiver, the consumer, basically the consumer in this chat, ni makelele tu sasa juu gani kweli and all that. And that's where we come in. It's not easy, but it's something we try to manage.
So then that means that, yes, the receiver, the perceiver, the onus is now placed on them, and educating them becomes someone's job. Should media training be part of our syllabus, one? And with how quickly things are changing, how do we even create a curriculum for something like that? For something like that.
We have been running what we call MEAL, the Media Information Literacy. Because you can't just keep pumping all the training to the producers and all that. You tell how to perceive fake news, how to verify information. So we do a bit of that. Now we are working around the journalism clubs in schools, so that people grow up. Because there's so much information, we are trying to teach the young people how to interact in this market of information overloads and all that, how to consume media, so that you need to be able to question a bit and all that. So we have that. Of course, it's costly. And we have a challenge generally of confirmation bias among more people than we think. People come to consume this information and news with certain biases. Sort of we already know these things and all that. There's certain presumptions that people hold so dear, you can't let them pull them away from that. But yes, we are trying to engage in that. It's a broader thing. UNESCO has just sent general guidelines on media information literacy. It was really a realization that we can't just keep talking to the media owners and the journalists and the producers. Have some information to the consumers so that then they know how to interact with the information as it comes. We're
just about to take a short break, but I'd want to come back and it's a big enough challenge even within the media space, but then to have a country that is essentially media literate would require a massive amount of resource and also just a lot of upskilling constantly. Yesterday, AI had 6 fingers, now it's 5. So you can't, if you train someone, if you want to know it's a fake video, check how many fingers. And now it looks hyper-realistic. How do we keep adapting to that? We'll take a short break, but when we come back, we'll discuss all of that and more. Please do ask your questions as well on the hashtag FixingTheNationNTV and call in and ask your questions as well around World Radio Day. What are you curious about the work that the Media Council of Kenya does? And we'll be more than happy to answer. What's up, nation? My name is Mariam Niko Omwoyo, Dagoretti North constituency, and I'm fixing the nation by just enjoying nature, bana. Simple as that.
You're excited?
Excited.
I mean, nature is nice. You guys were taking bets on whose idea it was for me to do the What's Up Nation from the top of a tree. It's
Mr. Latif. Can only be.
It can only be Eric.
Can only be.
No, let me say this, and I'll say it in English because saying it in Swahili will come out of you love trees.
Yes,
right?
I do.
So, I mean, it was just natural.
It was just natural. But our microground last week was really amazing in Kawangware. Send us your What's Up Nation video from where you are. Tell us what you're doing to fix the nation, what needs to be done, what's working, what's not working, to inform, to involve, tuonyeshe penye uko. 0769 590 762 is the number. 0769 590 762.
Right. This World Radio Day, right now we're talking about safeguarding radio. Staki Mapepe on YouTube says, radio has changed a great deal, so much so that some radio stations lack professionalism by employing content creators and comedians. However, serious stations will always draw audience. I mean, some content creators and comedians can also, but I think it's the thing that, Mr. Omwoyo was saying about ethics, and it can be anyone. Right now, anybody can have the mic, but what will differentiate somebody who has ethics vis-a-vis somebody who doesn't? And I
think that's just jumping off that and what Mariam had asked earlier. How do we broaden the knowledge of ethics, of media ethics to all, right? I know you've said going to journalism clubs in school. Is there a case for having it in the curriculum completely about ethics, media ethics? Because now everybody is becoming a content creator and everybody's actually sharing content. The ethics of knowing that this is a good way to do something, that this is affording somebody opportunity to be heard and so on and so forth, or even saying research a bit more before you go out and broadcast information. I mean, these are just ethical things. Is there a case for going to school and including it in whatever curriculum? Let KICD figure it out where.
But have you reflected about what we'll call national values and principles as a guiding principle that then therefore do not talk about what you haven't verified? It is journalism, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Do not put vulgar information out there.
Yeah.
Do not do porn for public consumption. Protect children. Respect the others' ethnicities and all that. So that you don't want to isolate media as something that lives beside the community.
Yep.
It is within the community, and if you have broader values and principles, even as you get onto media, because media just amplifies what you would speak naturally.
Yep.
So, because in very broad sense, we say that journalism is seek the truth and report it with a disclaimer: do no harm.
Yeah.
That means that make sure you verify information and all that. And if you reflect about communities where we come from, it's always respected. You know, the so-called gentlemen and ladies, whether wanaheshimiwa nasema wapendi masengenyo sana sana, that's gossip, isn't it? That means that then journalists do not put information out there before verification. Then you're automatically a good journalist now because you've gone out on a fact-finding mission. Then cause no harm. Do not incite people against each other. Do not speak falsehoods. Do not, be vulgar or, put content that will harm other people and all that. So, yes, as you talk about integrating in the KSCDs and all that, what we're doing now is a post facto thing that in media we realize that people are putting what we think is not very good, which is, loses some values and all that. Therefore, can we then teach the consumers how to perceive and process that and what to leave out, because we are on one side trying to panel beat the producers of the content on which lines to follow. There are too many, they keep mushrooming all over the place. So kuna kamoja kanatokea before we find out who it is, they have already churned out some information. So therefore we say, because you are the consumer, please jipange. When you hear this information, verify this is a trusted source and all that. And that's why every year around May on the World Press Freedom Day, we do the public perception of the media, the people's trust in the media, and we do rank the most trusted and all that, because then because we are just, as I said, we took over Sokohuru in the information agency, so everybody is out there. And the biggest challenge we are seeing is technology facilitated disinformation. AI here. I come and I clone your voice, I pretend to be you, and then I put that info. So people know, kama Eric Latif amesema bas ni kweli. But because we know people will trust you, therefore we come and clone your voice and all that. That is really the challenge we have, and that's the separation of that. That's why we're talking about the ethics now. Don't pretend to be me, because the fact that you are now trying to use the credibility that I command in the community to pass your message across. And then some way there are people who just want to pass very strange information. I don't know whether it reflects about people's private lives, the information that you think is valid and all that, and they seem to be getting traction. You notice that people who want to do a lot of incitement, a lot of porn and all that, they get quite some traction. So maybe it reflects the dark secrets of humanity. Maybe it does that.
It's telling us something about ourselves.
Yes, but then we say now that's private. For in the public space, we have rules and regulations for public space. And if you're going to say that internet and FM channels and all that are public space, this is what we'll go. Find a private space.
So we shall safeguard it.
Yes.
So then on the professionalism side, because the Media Council of Kenya does accreditation of journalists, right? Yes. To what extent do you accredit license practitioners in the media space? And I know you do it annually. Is there a case for a points-based renewal of license? Other professions have CPDs. You had a certain number of CPDs, then you get your license renewed to operate. If you don't, then it means that you sit out for that year until you do. So in this case, it helps you to continuously pass on the message and improve on professionalism of the space. But also at the same time, then now people know that this person who's here is definitely accredited by the Media Council of Kenya, which is the regulator of the practice of journalism.
It is a tricky one, because other professions, they have a very clear line of entry. You are a lawyer, you will practice in court and documents. You are an accountant, you can't sign off documents without that and all that. The information market, strategic liberalization is like the tech market, whereby you get a guy, they are talented. You spoke about content creators and all that, and they are talented and all that. But if you go back, the issue is at the fundamental level. Media, journalism is the only place where we have two entry points: academic qualifications and experience of continuously done work. So for us to accredit you, either your diploma or degree in media and journalism, or you provide evidence that you have consistently engaged in media work, and we check that the work you've done has been ethical, and broadly you have never sought to cause harm via your journalistic work. You qualify for accreditation. And therefore, if you put a CPD, it is easy to put a CPD or continuous skills development, really, but we have no barrier. We can't stop you. You know, like in law, if you do not have the annual license, then you can't practice law, isn't it? In medicine, the same. If you don't renew your license, then you can't practice and all that, isn't it? But in media, we cannot stop you, because then it's you build a brand and all that. So therefore, that's why we look at it. We do a lot of training. That's I think the largest outreach function that we do, but it is not ideally possible to stop people from, because
why not, David? Why not? Look, if you find that Eric Latif has been broadcasting what is clearly out of the ethics of media, those things that you've said, porn, it's fake criminal side, but also unethical, fake news, hatred and incitement, and so on and so forth. You should be able to stop me from ever accessing such a platform legally. And so if I do, then I have breached the law and I have breached the regulations of Media Council. I mean, you know, we on this show, we are very big on pointing out at other professionals and saying engineers are failing us kind of roads we have. Doctors are failing us because you don't trust a doctor, you have to go for second and third opinion, right? And so on and so forth. And the same thing, they push back here and say, even journalists are failing us, because look at the kind of information that's being spread out there by people who are claiming to be practicing journalists. We have a regulator of the industry, and that's you, right? How do we safeguard this industry? Let's focus on radio. How do we make sure that anybody who has access to a radio microphone is doing things ethically? And they have continuously learned to. You do this all the time. You have all this training that they have mandatorily attended some level of training through the year to improve on their skills.
You know, broadly, if anybody is doing this information work within a licensed media house, radio or TV, we have oversight over that. The challenge is people doing this beside. So you are, because remember, you know, the law gives and the law takes. If you're doing your practice in a media house, we have control over you. We can say, put this on air, put this show on hold, clarify this, show this, come here, pay this fine and all that. We have. But now we have people who are going and setting up their own. So the moment you are not a media house, then you fall under the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Bill, you fall under NCIC and all that. Problem is that we have a lot of people out there, and anybody churning out information, and they have a little crowd, then they declare themselves, I am a media personality, and they move. See, now you are not, because if someone came here, you have an agreement that I can engage the National Media Group at any level. We can demand about a show, we can say, pull this person down, we need mandatory this, and we do a lot of training actually, because we monitor, when we look at station ethics and all that, we give mandatory training and all that, we demand, we check the ethical breaches, explain the previous years you come to renew, whether you complied and all that. The challenge is that the ecosystem has brought in so many people who don't fall within the guidelines and who hata sisi tunaangalia tu, because the law does not allow us to go to the market and start shutting down things. It allows us to engage with people in media houses. So largely, we engage, because then otherwise, if you are in a media house, you know, you have guidelines, you signed against certain codes, what you will do and all that. The challenge we have are the people who
are outside. I feel like this is one of the few times I would propose multi-agency. You know what I mean? It's very few times, because
or expansion of the mandate of the Media Council.
Or maybe because
to involve now social media, any form of media.
Because those people outside are actually some of the ones creating the most harm. So they have a mic, someone somewhere needs to regulate, but somebody is saying, it's not my mandate, or it's barely mine, it's blurred. So maybe either expanding the mandate or coming together, because this is the next frontier, is people who are setting up on their own. But the kind of power that they have and the kind of misinformation or incitement that they drive is huge. So it almost seems like we need to get ahead of that completely.
I'm racking my head around it. I'm thinking, like, a creator like Dylan Page, millions, tens of millions of followers actually right now, a news source for many young people on TikTok. Like, that's it. If Dylan Page has posted it, that's it. And he's incredibly ethical, by the way. I don't know if he has like any media training or background, but you can tell he understands, you know, the basics of ethics and journalism. But then I'm thinking, he presents as a journalist on social media. There's so many other people, they're not pretending to be journalists, they're just spreading disinformation. So even if we do expand this net to like social media, I can just post a fake video or AI, and I'm not purporting. I don't usually put out content that is news or anything of that sort. I'm just spreading disinformation.
Right.
Do I still fall under your mandate? It's a very big...
Yes. But something that
scope.
needs a very clear, what do we do?
Yeah.
It's one of those where I don't think we should be waiting. I think we should be saying, you know what, this is what it is now, and it's only going to get worse.
Yep.
Again, it's not doom spreading. It's saying it can get amazing because there are people like him who... But on the other hand, it's opportunities, but there's a lot of harm.
True.
I wanted to get into the advertising bit.
The business, yes.
Business, yeah. I was trying to see, commercial pressure, and balancing that with advertiser interests, with ethical journalism, and with public opinion, because right now there is a lot of that pressure. So how are you able to draw that balance, and what is the challenge looking like now?
Of course, the problem we have now is a challenge of sustainability. A few years ago, I will give maybe about 15 to 20 years ago, we had about 4 television stations and about 21, radio stations. Now you said we have 250, so it's 10 times. And the TVs are more because now we have everybody, online TVs and all that. We went to talk analog to kind of digital. So every channel gave birth to hundreds of those. Unfortunately, the advertising cake has not expanded. So we are fighting over the same cake. We have not done much to expand the cake. We've moved in. And then the dynamics of advertising, people realize that we don't need to put this on radio or TV. We can put it on online. We can throw it on TikTok and all that. So that when you look at the big advertisers in this country, they have now, broken down their budgets from newspaper and TV and radio and social media and legacy media and so really that is a challenge. You can't regularly, because a person, if I was an advertiser, I would put my money where I think there are many eyeballs and all that.
All right.
So the advertising money has not shrunk. It is the media, therefore, that has gone, because now sometimes we even put advertising for someone to send a broadcast message, a text on people and all that. Then big tech, Facebook, X, and YouTube are taking a bit of that. That's a big challenge as a nation we need to reflect about, because then that money goes away out of the country. And the biggest challenge is that they hook those adverts on local content. So we seated here generating local content and putting it on that social media. We don't get anything. Yet the guy taking the money of advertising, the person who went to read a story by the nation on FB or went to watch NTV on YouTube is given an advert. Of course, it's a local advert. But the person who took the money for the advert is seated somewhere in the US. And we have not found a way to repatriate a portion of the money here. So that is a challenge, I would think. So the advertising is that broad and all that, because also, if you look at the Code for Media Practice, we say that the person in charge of content in the media is you are responsible for everything. I know we have seen a few in the classifieds, watu wanasema kuna muganga maarufu namna hii ama kuja tukupatia
mganga taalam kutoka
kuja tukupa dawa ya mapenzi. Hata ndiona kuna mtu anasema tuko na dawa kukusaidia upate tenda ya serikali. So it's about ethical and all that. So really I would say that and it's a different day, but let's have a different day to discuss the advertising.
Right.
That the cake has not gone down. The mouths of many people have discovered how to
to get a piece of the
to
cake.
get a piece of it. So the traditional guy, sisi tulikuwa na pipeline direct, ile main line ya kutoka advertiser inakuja kwa TV yetu na newspaper na nini na nini. Sasa hizi nini kanaenda, you see there's an advert in the nation. Sasa hiyo pesa ingekuja leo na kesho, lakini wameleta kidogo hapa, kidogo kwa YouTube, kidogo FB na kidogo ampeana TikTok and all that. That cake has been distributed. So watoto wamekuja wengi na wamemea meno. They can all chew the bone. So the monopoly we had over advertising has disappeared.
That's a good analogy.
What about I don't know, subscription models? And radio is one where I haven't really seen it. I've seen podcasting for sure, and podcasting is a form of radio when you think about it. But subscription models seem to be the answer to this quagmire of keeping media alive while maintaining integrity and riding out this wave of advertiser, not revenue falling, but the cake being split in too many pieces, right? Is that possible for radio, a subscription model? What would that look like? Or is it
Hi Andy, let me tell you the problem. You want me to pay for something I get for free? The point is people, you subscribe for a good or service, isn't it?
Yes.
And I pay a fee for it, isn't it? But I'm able to get it for free. I mean, it's like if you go into the mobile telephony thing. Now I don't need to pay airtime. If I have an internet subscription, I'll call you about any other channels and all that. So I do not need except of course when I'm talking to my grandmom and mom at home and all that. So over time, you're asking people to pay for what is available for free.
Traditionally known.
Yes, for free. So that is the challenge, really. So what we need to find a way to sustain what we have, because access to information is a fundamental right.
It is.
So it's like when you say we have a national budget for education, about 700 billion or whatever billions for security and all that. It's not about it. If you identify something as a public good, it does not have to make business sense.
That's right.
That's the core foundation of public policy. Public goods don't have to make profit.
Yes.
It is for the good of the people. But Sister Shida, even if I had money to say we want to sustain media houses, isn't it? 250 labda tupate shilingi mbili.
Yeah.
See, now that's a problem. The numbers also, they make it complex.
Actually, there was a graphic, maybe Jack, so you can pull it up, on the breakdown of the different radio stations in Kenya. How many are public, how many are commercial, how many are community stations. And I wanted to even get into that because when you say essentially the right to information, it's a right. And radio should be a public good in a sense. There was that graphic on how many? We have
250 licensed.
Yes.
38 are public.
38 are public.
174 commercial and 37 community radio stations.
Okay, so start maybe with, maybe just explain to us the difference between a public radio station, a commercial radio station, and a community radio station, so that if there's a public good, we can see where to put in the funds maybe.
I'll have to start by giving a disclaimer. From time to time, these definitions are moving targets.
Okay.
Of course, public radio is primarily Baba and Mama, KBC, which is a public good and all that. And if you go back to where it was born, VOK, or go to BBC, or we have in the US, we had American Public Radio and Voice of America, financed by taxpayers for public good, period.
Yeah.
Then we have commercial. Nimesikia media iko na pesa sana. Nikipewa frequency I can make money and all that. Huyo ni mfanyi biashara. Then they will sell whatever you want and all that. They will sell a bit of fashion, a bit of music and all that. Because, media works this way. I set up a media house. I develop very unique content so that I get either listeners or viewers or readers.
Right.
Then now the listeners or viewers or readers, they become a good which I go and sell to the advertiser.
Right.
So it's a double layered thing. It's not like a tradition where I do a good and sell to people. Now you do good, sell to the people listen or read. Now then you package your audience.
Yes.
As a good, really. It's what you sell to the advertiser.
Yes.
So you're mfanyi biashara entirely. Community, we have a slight problem. We need to redefine our community kidogo because community, we had the Mangelete radio and a few others I've seen. Isiolo, I have set up certain radios where hata watu wanafanya mchango wafungue ka radio kwa sababu wana matangazo na nini mtu anatoa shamba weke transmitter, wengine wana donate space mweke, it is really there. Yes. And they come volunteer time. The teacher comes to teach kidogo mambo ya afya, the local nurse in the clinic comes. That's community in the broadest sense. We have mistaken community for vernacular. Kwamba kwa vile sasa inaongea lugha yetu, ni community hata inaongea lugha yetu, isn't it? Yet it's commercial, but in that language and all that. But community in the broadest sense is ni yetu. Like the way tulikuwa tunafanya mchango ya Cattle Dip. Lakini nyinyi si wazee sana.
We've had.
Yes, Cattle Dip mna maintain nini shilingi 2 for cows. Pack out to maintain that. You have seen when we have a local bridge goes down in the village, you go down and then watu wanasema vijana wakuje nani wata donate miti and all that. That is community, the Harambe spirit, people coming together and doing that. We had the Harambe schools and all that. That is community. And yes, across this country, we have places where we have either local youth groups, women groups, very powerfully, and others come together, donate space, mchango kidogo and all that. And I have seen places where hata wafanyikazi wa radio wanalipwa na kuku na mayai kidogo namna hii na kambuzi. That is community in the broadest. And we have very interesting case studies across the country.
Yeah. Wait, the 38 public stations, mina KBC ndio najua.
Yes.
37 others?
You know, they are...
You know which, how many KBCs?
KBC... No, KBC iko na channel tuwe kama 18.
Okay, oh, the sub...
Yeah.
Okay.
How many KBCs do you know?
Kuna channel kwake kama 18.
Okay.
Tuko na zingine ziko kwa universities and colleges which broadcast to, you know, then when it's a university, to broadcast to the community in the university and the neighboring community, because it will do up to 10 to 25 kilometers radius and all that. And then we have the Kenya Meteorological Department. It had a set of channels across the country which would broadcast and all that.
Okay.
Yes. So which are, the radio does not, the media house does not need to make profit. Tutatoa pesa mahali fulani, tulipe streamer, tulipe wafanyikazi, tununue equipment and all that. So for public, it means that the radio serves the public, we will find a way to sustain it. And then so communities that the people really think they are part of the management, they come and give information for free and all that. Commercial, of course, tumesema ni biashara.
Yes.
So it's really...
Yeah. I think tumeelewa.
Gosh, there's a minute left. There's a question I wanted to ask around protecting vulnerable groups because of sensationalization, etc. I know that trainings have happened, but I think there's still a sense that some groups don't feel like the media is evolving with their understanding of the rights owed to them. I remember attending a training around FGM, and it was powerful because a journalist and it had survivors, and they were going head to head, and the survivors were saying, you don't report our stories ethically, you sensationalize them. Then when you have stories around gender-based violence, it's the same victim blaming kind of skewed that still seems to persist. I'm just curious as to what more needs to happen training-wise so that there's that element of responsibility around vulnerable groups not feeling like it's sensationalized.
Okay, problem with humanity ni moja. I want my narrative. Journalists tuko na shida tambua right of reply. If someone is mentioned in a story, they have to... But ni mimi nilipigwa kwa nini unaenda kumuuliza? You know, you should have created my narrative alone. So you must realize that a journalist in the field is balancing many things. I've gone to the field and say, you journalists ni bure sana. Sisi ndio tumepigwa na mnaenda kuongea na wale wametupiga ama sisi ndio we are affected ones. So they don't want you to give a narrative to those other ones. Yet we have this challenge of balance and all that. I think it's really training and engagement. Because sometimes we have victims and the perpetrators have certain foundations. We know we have, if you work, I've engaged a bit of communities about FGMs and certain practices and all that. It is very deep. It is from the forefathers and all that. So you suddenly tell someone to stop it, they think you've been sent by the devil and his associates. So it's really complex, and that's if you look at the anthropological foundations of journalism, the communities we live with and all that, you just need to let people know. That's why you want to go to interview an imam, buy hijab. It's really a complex thing, and people, we have a tendency to blame, throw words at things and all that. But if you sit down, because I sat down with the communities, complainants, the journalists and all that, it's a complex thing, especially the balancing part is not this.
Nuance. I feel like we do need an entire show on Radio 101. I think there's so much to unpack, but thank you so much. David Omwoyo is the CEO of the Media Council of Kenya, talking about safeguarding radio on this World Radio Day. In the next hour, MC Jesse is an artist, former radio host, and a politician. How does he balance all of that? It's coming up to 8 a.m. We'll come back and continue with that conversation.